Hello everyone, Risky Toothpick here, back again with some more Agatha Christie, Hercule Poirot, the first cases, and today we're going to investigate the garden, talk to Cassandra, and begin with talking to Angeline.
Good morning, Detective. I hope you were comfortable last night.
Bonjour, mademoiselle. The room was more than pleasant, merci. I'm afraid my mind was not in a state to enjoy it to its full potential, though.
I can't imagine any of us slept soundly last night.
Hopefully, guilt will be weighing heavily on someone's shoulders this morning.
Perhaps on more than one set.
I'm sorry if I was not much help last night, Detective.
On the contrary, your inside knowledge of the guests was of great help to my investigation. But there are many more questions that require answers.
What were your feelings toward the Major's position in the house?
His position? You mean about him living here?
Oui, even in a house this size, you must see a lot of each other.
I enjoyed having him here. When I was away with Gideon, it was comforting to know Maman was not alone. Although his work with Mr. Da Silva has kept him away from the house of late.
What can you tell me about their relationship, working or otherwise?
There is not much to tell, only that there is no love lost between them.
Do you know what their business entailed?
He was always quite private about his work. I know that he was helping Mr. Da Silva with some safety matters.
I found a check addressed to the Major from Monsieur Da Silva. It noted security consulting.
Ah, that's right, security. With his military training, he helped Mr. Da Silva prepare for any trouble with the strikes.
Although the Major's death has taken precedence, there has been a development in the blackmail case.
A development? Oh, Detective, I knew I could count on you.
It may not be the news you had wished for, though. Another letter has been found.
Addressed to me? I don't know how much more I can take of this.
Pardonnez-moi, mademoiselle. Although it has been written in the same manner, using similar phraseology, it was not sent for your eyes, rather the Major's. Or at least that is how it seems.
I'm sorry, Detective, I don't understand. It is addressed to him or not?
I found it in the Major's study yesterday while conducting my preliminary search. Whether he is the author of the letter or the recipient, I am still yet to discover.
Could the Major have been behind the blackmail?
Heavens no, he could not do that.
You did not hesitate for a moment.
Why would he do such a thing? And then to send a letter to himself. It just doesn't make sense.
Merci for your time, mademoiselle. You are to a detective what an umbrella is to a traveler on a wet day.
Useful?
Exactement.
Man, he went in a roundabout way of telling her that she was useful. It's kind of weird. There is a connection here, though. Angeline knew the Major well. I mean, I guess just put these two together.
Some would say a lucky guess. I would say a moment of genius.
They were the only ones that would go together. One can't be surprised with Angelina and Felix's bond. He's been a figure in her life for so long. Yeah, he might be her dad. It wouldn't surprise me. I noticed a few other people over here that we can talk to, but I think I'm gonna go outside first and then we'll deal with talking to everyone. Finding evidence of the figure from last night will, on one hand, confirm I'm not seeing things as Monsieur Sterling suggested, but on the other, pose even more questions that must be answered. A well-made lighter with the insignia of a military regiment. The Major must have dropped it. So we found his lighter.
Aha.
There was a small trail of footprints in the snow. The Major was keen walking around here yesterday. We found the footprints. back up a little bit, see if there's anything we might be able to find. I'm assuming if somebody was outside and we saw them, it's going to be on this side, maybe? Might be on the other side. It has almost disappeared in the snow. I doubt we will see too many birds in these conditions. Okay, so we checked that side. I guess we need to check the other side. Let me see, make sure there's nothing by the door.
Oh,
The house is completely snowed in. It does not look like we shall be going anywhere anytime soon. The snow is still falling. I'm hardly dressed for the occasion. Perhaps Madame Van Bosch has finished her breakfast and is ready to answer my questions. Also, he just automatically came back. Okay. But before we talk to her, let me talk to everyone over here.
bonjour, Monsieur Damir.
Detective Poirot, how are you?
The truth, Monsieur. With each step towards uncovering the blackmailer, I am thrown 2 steps back as to the identity of the Major's killer.
Is there something I can help you with?
After investigating the crime scene yesterday, I asked Monsieur Sterling to move the body.
Archibald came to me and asked for my help in the matter. My brother and I dealt with it.
Merci for your help. It is a job that only the professionals should have to undertake.
It's a job that had to be done, although it may have affected my brother more than I.
How so?
At the sight of the body, the color drained from his face. Once we had reached the cellar, Zachariah took himself straight off to bed, without even a good night.
While in the study, I noticed the major's safe was locked. Would you know who has access?
Felix and Madame Van Bosch are the only ones with keys, as far as I'm aware. Oh, and Archibald. I'm sure I heard Felix asking him to return something to it once.
I wonder why Monsieur Sterling did not mention this previously. Have you spoken with your brother this morning?
I have not seen him since last night. I'm sure he will have been fine after a good night's sleep.
Probably has PTSD from his time in the war. Imagine the alcohol would have acted as a sufficient sleeping aid.
He does not need his younger brother checking in on him.
Perhaps that is exactly what he requires.
I'm not sure what he told you yesterday, Detective, but he's a big boy. He can look after himself.
I worry that may not be the case, Monsieur. His time in the war came up in conversation more than once during our conversations.
He's still talking about it? I thought talking to the doctor would have stopped all of that.
Merci, Monsieur.
Yep, he had some psychological issues due to the war, which is common. And unfortunately, back in the day, or probably around this time period, they really didn't treat it well. And they kind of blamed the individual in question than, helping them. Zachariah was shocked by the major's corpse. Zachariah was therapized after the war. Probably these two.
The pieces of the puzzle are finally coming together.
I've heard of men returning physically from war, but their minds remain on the battlefield. And it wants us to talk to Gideon some more. Right in front of him, we might as well.
If it will help you find the Major's killer, of course.
But yeah, during this time period, they probably blamed the brother himself for it than actually helping him.
When he returned from the war, he was a different man. Everything became about what he had seen.
I cannot speak from experience, but I can only imagine the horrors he must have witnessed.
The first weeks he would wake in the night, screaming. I found him one night, cowering behind the desk in the study. When I tried to help him out from beneath it, well, it was the first time I had ever feared for my life.
That is not why you two are no longer close?
And not at all, Detective. We were always very different in nature. While I had always wanted to follow an academic path, Zachariah was more of a free spirit, or at least as free as our father and the laws would allow.
And yet, he ended up in the military. Quite the contrast.
Our father demanded that he at least try to do something with his life. And when some of his friends joined the army, he signed up with them. It wasn't long before he moved out from the family home after his return from the army. I always assumed that he had put the war and everything that came with it behind him and was moving on. But now I see that is far from the truth.
And there we go. And it's also important to note that they really, around this time, they didn't know how to deal with like PTSD and stuff, and they called it shell shock. Shell shock is like before World War One or around World War One is when they would call it shell shock, and that changed throughout the years, and we eventually don't use shell shock anymore, but PTSD and other diagnoses. But yeah, shell shock, they really didn't help. They didn't have the techniques to help an individual with shell shock back in the day. Most people, you know, still had it.
Countess, I wonder if I could ask you some questions.
That is it, detective? No small talk? No inflating of one's ego?
I am afraid not, Countess. With a murderer still loose in the house, my mind is rather preoccupied.
Well then, detective, perhaps I can be of some assistance.
Comment, madame?
I thought you might like to know what I found on the Major's body.
Yeah, whoa. Why is she seeing the Major's body? I demand to know who gave you permission to see the Major's body.
That certainly piqued your interest.
A man has been murdered, and you find it acceptable to fool around and joke.
Oh, please, detective. Do you really think so little of me? Archibald asked for my assistance. He knows of my medical training from my days as a nurse, and I thought I would be able to help. Even if it has been some years.
He didn't tell us about that, though.
It was not his place to grant you access to the body.
I shall remember to keep my assistance to myself next time.
What did you discover on the body?
A single stab wound, which you no doubt already knew. The knife was held in their right hand. I would say their predominant hand.
I pride myself on order and method, and this is far from either. A suspect in a murder investigation has examined the very victim that they are suspected of killing. It is like something out of a crime novel.
Judging by the depth of the wound, I would say there was no great force put into the strike. More a sign of defense than attack. If I had to say what weapon was used, a small sharp knife or dagger.
This may confirm my suspicion of the Major's knife being used to kill him.
I understand it may be difficult for one to keep such information to yourself, but I ask you to try. Your involvement has already tainted my investigation.
You are welcome, detective.
When my superior officer hears of the goings-on in this house, I will surely be seeing the green fields of the countryside once more. I must do all I can to redeem the reputation I have worked to build, starting with finding the killer.
S'il vous plaît, Comtesse. Keep this information to yourself.
Oh, you're asking the one girl that likes to talk. Alrighty, we need to talk to Cassandra. Yeah, he's been lying to us, or he hasn't been telling us everything. And we have a lot more information over here. Alrighty. Let us go talk to Cassandra. She should be in the dining room. While I must speak with Madame Van den Bosch, I should also use this opportunity to talk to Mademoiselle Rihanna in the kitchen. Alrighty. Well, we'll talk to Cassandra first since we're already here.
Bonjour, madame. May I offer my condolences for your loss?
Thank you, Detective, but they are not necessary. What can I do for you?
I was hoping you would be prepared to answer some questions.
If I must.
Why would someone want to kill the Major?
I'm sure you're aware he was not the easiest man to get along with. His hot temper made him a number of foes.
A hot temper is reason enough to kill a man.
His mouth often acted before his brain. Perhaps someone had grown tired of dealing with it.
You suggested why someone might kill him, but who do you believe would do it?
Seeing as I heard Mr. Becker's in what I would describe as an unnecessarily loud exchange of words yesterday, he would be my first suspect.
You heard them yourself.
How could I not? The volume they were shouting at, I could hear them from the study in my room.
You did not think it fitting to tell me this yesterday?
I didn't think Felix was going to wind up dead and a murderer loose in my house. My apologies, Detective.
Although I must learn more of this argument, it is not Madame that I expect the answers to come from, rather Monsieur Becker's. He has a great deal of explaining to do. The letter was found in the Major's study.
I assume you are talking about the supposed blackmail letter.
Oui, madame. You know of it?
It arrived shortly after the first. Rather coincidental, if you ask me.
I'm not sure I understand what you're trying to say, madame.
He no doubt had secrets hidden away. But do you honestly think Felix had anything of value to his name worth threatening him for?
Perhaps you should enlighten me.
Well, he was here, living in my house, eating my food, prepared by my staff. Does that answer your question, Detective?
How do you think the Major came to have the letter?
I wouldn't put it past him to have written it himself, in the hopes of getting some sympathy from me.
And the other letters?
He probably wrote those too. If Angeline paid the first, that would have given him the money to pay the second letter. He is the White Knight, saves the day, and expects to live here happily ever after.
I did not expect Madame Van den Bosch to be so blunt with her thoughts towards the Major. I was under the impression there was more to their friendship, not less. It is quite the nefarious plan that Madame has laid out for the Major. I'm not sure I can believe he would go to such levels of deceit. I'm sure Mademoiselle Angeline will have an opinion on the matter. I'd like to ask you about Monsieur de Silva.
What is it you wish to know?
You two have been friends for some time now, and while I do not mean to pry, has your relationship only...
If you are trying to insinuate that Mr. de Silva and I are running around like schoolchildren, you could not be further from the truth. He was friends with my husband, for goodness sake.
Oui, I understand they worked together. Investments, if I am correct.
Mr. de Silva was the voice of reason that my husband should have listened to more often, instead of throwing our money at businesses that were already on the verge of bankruptcy.
Merci, madame. I shall not bother you any further.
Alrighty. We got some information from her. We do have a connection. Cassandra believes the Major was the blackmailer. Maybe these two?
Magnifique.
Angeline and Cassandra have different impressions of the Major. There must be a reason for this. And we need to talk to Angelina. Is there anything in here that would be of value? Okay, so we can go to the kitchen and talk to Rihanna. I wonder how many travel expeditions have been planned while enjoying the contents of this globe. Madame Van den Bosch's collection of art extends further than just paintings.
Huh.
And then we've seen this one multiple times before about the snow.
Ah,
Okay, so it's all the same thing over and over again.
huh.
Alrighty, let us go to the kitchen. This is our first time in this area. And I'm assuming that is the cook.
Huh.
The cook has obviously used them for quite some time, judging by their condition.
Bonjour, madame. You must be the wonderful cook.
Wonderful and modest, sir. I am Rihanna.
Rihanna.
My taste buds thank you for the ravishing meal last night. It has been some time since I ate so well.
Glad to hear it, sir.
S'il te plaît, madame. A detective is fine.
In that case, mademoiselle is fine for me, and I will ignore your presumption of marriage.
Très bon, mademoiselle.
Okay, you have been with the Van den Bosch family for quite some time.
That's right. I've seen staff come and go, but a house always needs a trustworthy cook.
I agree. But if I was to eat what you prepare every day, I fear I may be the size of La Maison.
Not a bad thing, detective. You could do with some meat on your bones.
Well, with the snow still not clearing, we may be stuck here for the weekend. Perhaps I should look to adjust my pantalon buttons.
I understand you took some ice to the major yesterday.
I did. Monsieur Archie told me what had happened. Bruises can swell fast, so I took him some ice to bring it down.
Strange, Monsieur Sterling told me it was the major that requested the ice.
How was the major when you saw him?
Grumpy, as always.
I suppose one would not take kindly to being punched as he was.
Punched or not, he was as ungrateful as ever.
I shall not keep you any longer. Merci, mademoiselle.
I have gathered all I need from Madame Van den Bosch and Mademoiselle Rihanna as she returned to the Great Hall. Okay, so we've done all this. Doesn't seem to be anything interesting in there. I think we are good. There might be a connection here. There's not, but I can get rid of all these. All we need to do is talk to Angeline and...
Oh.
Yeah, well with the... What is that? That looks like an elk, possibly a red stag. Most of the time they do run off, but if they do get cornered, they can charge you with their horns, but most of the times they just run off. Alright, let's go back in here. And talk to Angeline.
Is there something I can help you with, detective?
Your maman did not describe her friendship with the major in such a positive light.
You have got the wrong end of the stick, detective. Maman has snapped at him recently, but it was nothing more than that. It was something to do with the letter. I heard them in the library before Maman shouted and he stormed out of the room past me.
Could it have been the blackmail letter that instigated their argument?
Why would Maman be upset with him over the letter?
Madame is of a very different opinion from yourself regarding his connection with the letters. She believes him to be the author.
That is what she told you? She has always been one to make a quick, if not rash decision, but she cannot truly believe that.
Was the major aware you had paid the first blackmail letter?
I don't recall telling him directly. I did not want Maman to find out it had been paid. If he knew, surely she would.
Madame believes he may have been behind all the letters, and taking your payment of the first, then used it to pay the second and be the hero in you and your mother's eyes.
I never knew Maman had such an imagination. Where would she get a story like that from?
That is a question I was hoping you may be able to answer.
You have met him. Do you really think he's capable of such a devious plan?
It is a plan only the most crooked and underhanded could create. Is that the Major? I am not so sure.
The more I think on Madame's story, the more ridiculous and obscure it sounds, but that does not mean it can be ruled out.
I shall not keep you any longer. Merci, mademoiselle.
Alrighty. We do have another connection here. Angelina questions Cassandra's reasoning for the Major's blackmail. Cassandra wasn't happy with the Major.
I must act on thought and fact.
What had caused it? The Major had a temper. He wasn't happy with the Major.
This will not get me any closer.
Angeline questions Cassandra's reasoning for the Major's blackmail. Cassandra wasn't happy with the mayor. Cassandra believed the Major was the blackmailer.
I cannot see the logic in this. Perhaps as
Cassandra wasn't happy with the Major. Gideon paid it off.
things are beginning to become clearer.
I wonder if the blackmail had a greater effect on the relationship than expected. Talk to Angeline.
Is there something I can help you with, detective?
Was the arrival of the blackmail letter what caused the tension in Madame and the Major's relationship?
I'm afraid it had been that way for some time. Maman is not forthcoming with her emotions, as I'm sure you are aware, but I could tell she had not been happy with their arrangement for the last few months.
What gave you that impression?
There was not one particular thing that she expressed, it was just the way she spoke to him and of him when he wasn't present.
I shall not keep you any longer. Merci, mademoiselle.
I believe I have gathered everything that is required. Monsieur Sterling will be able to assist me in gaining access to the Major's study. Alright, let me go here, talk to the head guy. And I'm guessing he's at his study. No, he's right here.
Whatever you need, Detective.
I wish to inspect the Major's study again.
Certainly, Detective.
Alright, let's see what we can find here. This room is still a crime scene and should have remained untouched, but it looks as though it has been ransacked. I requested Monsieur Sterling to have the body wrapped and moved, which has been done, thankfully. What else has gone on in here? This is weird.
Aha.
Someone was obviously looking for something in particular in the Major's documents. These accounts have been thoroughly rifled through. The Major has recently taken out a large loan and the interest rate is astronomical. Address to the Major with no return address. I must admit, side by side there is a striking resemblance between Miret Phil. Perhaps such flattery is the way to win over Madame van den Bosch. How strange, the Viscount was also present in the picture but has been folded out. I did not think there was any hostility between the Major and the late Viscount. See here, is there any connections? Oh yes there is. So he had a loan, high interest rate, large sum. So maybe high interest rate with ransom value?
Order and method. That is the...
Nope. Why would the Major keep this hidden?
grey cells.
To this one, it seems rather menacing that the Viscount has been ripped out in such a picture.
I must act on thought and fact, not on...
So, Angelina attached to the Major. Angelina and Cassandra.
I should not be surprised by my own skills of deduction.
The hidden photos of them along with Angeline's attachment to him proves he cared deeply for them. The Major cared about Cassandra and Angeline.
Is there something I am not seeing?
Okay, well, we know that the large sum and the ransom value
Things are beginning to become clearer.
go together. The Major paid the letter that was addressed to him. He must have been worried enough that something would be released to the public, but what? Oh, that's why he got the loan.
Some would say a lucky guess. I would say a moment of genius.
I believe the Major would do everything to remain in the comfortable life he's accustomed to, but would he stoop so low as to fake a blackmail letter?
What a revelation!
The evidence shows the Major was not the author of the blackmail letter. Yeah, he paid for one. The Major was a victim just like Mademoiselle Angeline. Whoever it is that is penning these letters knows a great deal about many people. I wonder how many more have received similar letters. The Major is innocent. The uncertain connection between the Major and the ransom has been resolved. The Major was being blackmailed. The letters were not written by his hand. What remains unresolved is why the Major was being blackmailed. Two cases of extortion under one roof. The question of the relationship must be asked. The Major's secret is anything but obvious from his letter. I now have a blackmailer and a murderer and their weapon to find. If the correct process is followed, they shall all be found swiftly. I should take my leave. This room has already revealed enough new insights into the Madam's and Major's lives.
Detective Poirot, I have been asked to inform you that Lady Bosch has returned to her room, and she wishes not to be disturbed.
Is it me, or does Head Butler Sterling's eyes up here look intimidating?
Merci. Madame certainly has mastered the art of subtlety.
They may not be the exact words she used, but I'm sure you can imagine. Excuse me, I have some further duties to attend to in the pantry.
Perhaps I should take this opportunity to search the top floor now there is no one to disturb me. There is one room that holds particular interest. I should inspect the storage room while I have this rare opportunity. Alrighty. So we have investigated the Major's involvement with the blackmail. We know he was actually blackmailed, not the blackmailer. And since it's already been past the 30-minute mark, we're going to stop here today. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. In the next one, we will explore this top floor and then work our way down.